Hello, friends. Today we are going to talk a little bit about the creative process that has been coming through me, introducing itself to me, and it's quite a journey it takes us on. I really feel like this creative process is the foundation of opening the channel that I have and continue to. So, without further ado, I have been absolutely awestruck, bewildered, captivated to such an incredible degree by creators, musicians, artists, dancers. And it's not necessarily, I realize that it's not necessarily the piece itself, the song itself, but the experience of expression that the creator has in releasing it. There's a girl named Tash Sultana who's got fucking incredible music, and the music, when you watch her live, she is so radically submersed and taken away by her music, truly just like, orgasming as she plays the guitar and as she sings. And I could turn off the volume entirely and just watch her play and be radically enlivened. And in the same form, when I see Jimi Hendrix play, it's like he gets out of the way of himself to become a vessel for this unfathomable, godly, alien force to just come pour through him and orgasm into the cosmos through this space on Earth. And when it comes to, different dance experiences, anytime that I see people like truly going in and grabbing themselves and bringing that to the surface, whether it's music, whatever it is, it's like, that's what turns me on. And I see it also in people drawing who really tapped into the vein of what it means to be able to draw and paint, who can just put a point, one single point down, tip of a ballpoint pen, and use it as a magic wand to create universes, sculpt entire realities from single lines. Magnificent. And when I see this, I'm incredibly turned on by the release that the creator experiences. And because I've been so radically inspired by all forms of creation, because it's not really the medium, it's really that release, and each medium is merely a tool to connect with that form of release. Because I've been inspired by all forms of medium, I haven't been able to choose. At first it was frustrating, because I wanted to be able to choose one medium to devote myself, to pour all my focus into, but then I realized that it's not about the medium itself, it's about learning how to cultivate the ability to bring myself to that state of true transcendent release that Jimmy experiences, that Dali and just the greats of every medium experience on a regular basis, right? I want to touch that note every single fucking day, where it's just like I reach my hand into the core of my being and breathe fire into it, right? So as I began to realize, it took me a little bit of time. Like I said, at first I wanted one medium to focus upon, and then it took me some time to realize that I'm not working upon the medium. It's not the medium I care about, it's that experience of touching the core itself. And I began to realize and see and witness that, you can play rock and roll music, you can paint art that translates rock and roll music into a visual experience, and then you can dance to the music of rock and roll. All of them embody rock and roll. Rock and roll is more than rock and roll is more than music. Jazz, rap, hip-hop, right, is more than music. Hip-hop is rap. It is street art, it's hip hop is rap, it's graffiti, it's breakdancing, it's DJ, right? It's a culture. And what I seek to connect with is not the medium itself, but the culture, which is the feeling, which is the ideas, which is the evolution of the being, my own and all those around us. So I began to see myself as a space, as learning how to touch the core of myself, and learning how to touch the core of myself and bring it out is also touching the core of another and bringing it out of them. If I can hit that absurd solo like Jimi Hendrix, I can make others feel the way that I do as it pours through me. That's why epic music is so fucking fantastic, obviously. Anywho. So, targeting the feeling itself, rather than, I want to be a good drawer, so I'm going to practice, drawing the body all the time. Not dissing the practice anyway, in any means, but this is a different path that I've taken. So, instead of saying, I want to be a great movement artist, I instead asked myself, and then train and do push-ups and sit-ups and, hop on a workout routine. Instead, I said, what is the feeling that I want to touch? What is the feeling I seek to connect with? And I would find art pieces. I'm going to be jumping mediums here because I want to share with you that I see all mediums as one, and I carry one practice and one philosophy through them all. So, the practice for me is about connecting with the feeling that I seek to embody, the state of transcendent release. A painting, a photograph that radically inspires me, that has a message, right? That connects with the feeling, with some chord of my inner being. I see this piece and I'm just like, oh, fuck yeah. I grab the piece and I pull it aside. With this piece, I look at it and I ask the piece, what does this mean to me? I use the piece as an invitation to witness myself because I know that there's a version of myself continually leaving breadcrumbs for me everywhere that I go. Breadcrumbs of inspiration. And these breadcrumbs, as I choose to follow them and get better at recognizing them when they come, these breadcrumbs guide me into the full realization of the potential within me. They guide me into the embodiment of the highest reality I could possibly imagine, or impossibly imagine, because infinity always has a better dream for me and what I can be than I do currently here and now. That's why it's fucking absurd when we ask children, what do they want to be when they grow up? What do you want your career path? It's silly winkers. Anywho. I see a piece that radically inspires me. I pull it aside and I see it as an invitation to experience myself through the lens, through the perception of this piece. As in, I hear a song and I fucking love the song. The song takes me to another place where I am free, right? Or it takes me way into the dark, but it feels good to be there because this song resonates with the way I experience my own darkness. I use this song as an invitation. I pull the song aside, and when I listen to the song, I allow myself to go inside and watch a movie play, right? And it starts just by, visualizing myself in the mirror. Visualizing my house, right? All of us can use this experience of visualization. If I say, think of your, your mother's face, you're going to be able to summon it. So in the same way, I can go inside and listen to a song and choose to watch a movie play. And this movie is an interaction with my dreamscape. Close my eyes, watch a movie play. I write down the movie that I've watched, and it's basically just start with the mirror, and then zoom out to my whole body. Watch my body begin to walk somewhere. Tip, maybe a scene of mountains appears, and I walk through the mountains, and onto the top of the mountain, I see storm clouds arising, and the more that I do it, the more intense these visuals become, until I'm truly there. And it's just as real and vivid as this reality. I see these storm clouds, and then I begin to put my hands into the storm clouds and play around with them until it becomes like clay, like molding clay, and I feel something in my hands molding, shape shifting. And as I look at the creature inside my hands, I see it's an orb, and this orb holds it's like a casting of the earth, and inside the earth I look inside, and I see an entire cosmic universe, skies, galaxies, and I zoom in through the stars, I come into another earth, zoom into my body, and I see myself from the perception of zooming in, from the outside coming in, and then I re-enter my eyes, and I say, whoa, what the fuck was that? What just happened? Fractals. Each piece of creation that inspires me is an invitation to experience myself deeper, right? It's like a ticket to a ride, and the rides might be short at first, and then they slowly grow into ever-increasing experiences of intensity and infinity. And through this, I've tapped into streams of memory, like veins. Memories flood into me through these experiences that are just as vivid as anything that I've experienced in this life. Actually, even more so. They're often more potent, because there's a sexiness to them. Anywho, when I fall into, it's almost like the subconscious, the dreamscape, the imagination is this giant ocean, and we can dive into. And each, as a musician, when I'm inspired by another musician and I begin to learn their music and play their music, it's basically like they are one current through this ocean of imagination, and by inspiring them, I respire them, and I move my being, my vessel, my spaceship through the ocean of imagination along their current, along their stream, and they teach me how to dance gracefully through this strange ocean. And then I find another inspirer who teaches me how to fly this spaceship, right? And I, continue to map out and explore deeper and deeper parts of this incredible ocean of imagination. So it gets really interesting when it's really interesting when I tap into streams, currents that have intelligence, just as this language has intelligence. There are other languages. The more that I fly, the more I realize that there are other streams of intelligence that I can tap into when I tap into these other lifetimes. And when I engage with these other lifetimes in the tongue of them, I see myself, my experience of this reality in a very different way. I begin to... Ooh, that's going to get trippy, as if it hasn't already. Before we go there... Infinity reverses. Anywho, before we go there, interacting with these streams, interacting with these streams, interacting with these streams of experience. What's key, when I first started going into this stuff, it radically forced me to let go of everything I think I know about reality. It forced me to let go of the entire structure for what we are as conscious beings upon this earth. It forced me to let go of everything that the world had told me about what we are, because, excuse me, I'm having a conversation, because nothing of their framework for what we are encompassed anything that I was experiencing. So I threw everything out. And by doing so, I allowed myself to go insane. And I'm not crazy, in some senses. I'm not crazy. I just don't have the same... Okay. I'm not insane. That's a strange word, isn't it? I'm not insane, I just don't particularly have the same attachment to sanity as others do. The act of letting this go was a choice. And it was a choice that made me fall down a rabbit hole of quite magnificent experience. Now, right, so take a song, right? Or a series of songs that makes me feel really fucking great. That connects with me in a way. For this time in my life, this playlist connects with me in a way. This is exactly how I want to feel. This resonates deeply, right? I listen to that playlist a lot. And with that playlist, I listen to that playlist as I look online and pull pictures from other artists. And these pictures inspire me as much and just as this playlist does. And now the pictures are associated with the music. And when I close my eyes to listen to the music, I put myself inside the pictures, and I watch the pictures evolve themselves as the dream. I watch the pictures are almost like where the movie begins, and all the pieces become integrated and fused together into one dream of reality, of experience. In the dream, it doesn't even have to be something that I can come back and give you a report of what the dream was like, but the more important thing is not the experiences of what happened in the dream, but rather how the dream made me feel. And each time I go into the dream with the music, I can feel the music in deeper and deeper way. And there's a communication that occurs from the first time that I assemble the playlist together to each time that I go into it with an entire networking of visual bookmarks that I use to experience the movie. Each time that I add a new layer, so we've got the music, we've got the photos, and then now together I use this as like a portal, an invitation to write. And I write feelings that come through, poetry, I use them as means with which to make my own music, or some perception that I found in the dreamscape that I was in is an invitation to a feeling that I hadn't explored before, and I draw with that feeling in mind. I paint with that feeling in mind. I dance with that feeling in mind. And the more that I listen to the playlist, the more pictures I add to it. The more writings from me come as inspiration from the playlist. It's like the playlist is a tuning, a culture, just like hip-hop or rock and roll, that has its own set of ideals and philosophies and ways of being and dancing and moving and interacting with each other, right? Each playlist is a culture. The culture has both music, art, and motion. And when I experience these three together, my experience with the culture is far deeper. And each time that I re-enter the culture of that playlist, it expands, it becomes bigger, it breathes, it expands its awareness, and that culture is like its own living, breathing entity, a being, a mind of its own, and I am interacting with this mind, and when I interact with this mind, I give more life to it. It starts from a single feeling, an idea, perhaps a painting, an infinitesimally small point just like the universe itself, and every time I interact with it, this universe of the culture expands and expands and expands, far larger than the point ever was. And as this culture expands, becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, it collides with other cultures I've experienced, and the galaxies come together and create a new galaxy that encompasses the entirety of the experience. And basically what happens for me when I go into these worlds is each culture, each genre, each universe, you could see each dimension, they're all synonymous in this metaphor, each one has its own stream of stories attached to it that come through me as I watch these movies in my mind. Each story is like a story in the mythology, right? Each culture has its own series of stories to explain and describe what we are, how we got here, and what it means to be a good being, right? And to be a naughty being. Creation myths, tales, and stories from, tribal music to fairy tales to biblical tales to, the gods, the kingdom of gods of, the Hindu religions. They're all over, and they're all basically the same breath, one breath of the same thing, the vast, gaping universe of what we are, experiencing itself through our translation, through the perception of the space. That's kind of heady, but I think you may or may not get the point. Anywho, as I expand each genre within my own personal mythology, the storylines begin to interweave, and I see myself from, different forms. So, when I was young, I was really into Greek mythology. Percy Jackson in the Olympians book had me radically inspired, right? And so I read all of them and was stoked on it. And it's basically like a hint, because now, in everything of my childhood, or everything that I danced with in imagination, has come back to me now in a very radical and very real way, in the way that I interact with the world and learn from it. There's certainly a period in my life where I became acculturized in society, kind of enveloped me and told me what was real and practical and how to be an adult, kind of. And then I let go of it all and fell back into child imagination again. Way more fun here. Also crazy. Woody Wedderwell. Yeah, so the story of Percy Jackson as a demigod. He was born of one of the Olympians. Maybe not. Yeah, he's Poseidon's son. Poseidon is the god of the sea. I have now storylines, mythologies of my journeys in the realms of all the demigods. I have my journeys and interactions with gods of you know, the sky, the storm, the earth, the pits of volcanoes, right? I have my own experiences with all these spaces from the perception of both the demigod, the sun, or the, like, from man to half man, half god, to God itself. Like, demigod, I don't know, sorry. Anywho, yeah, so basically the creative process is all centered about taking a feeling, unbound by medium, bringing it into one space to amplify through all mediums of creation, to witness a culture. And the culture is like a current, one vein moving through the ocean of imagination. And I am the multi-dimensional fisherman, sailor, wizard, driver who learns how to navigate this spaceship through the different currents of imagination to connect with new realms within my emotional psyche, expanding my awareness of what it is I am, and me learning how to navigate these waters of the currents of my imagination is also cultivating an ability to share these places with others, to bring home the core elements that I find on my journey abroad. Bring it back home and share it with you. And my aim and my intention now is to share it with people. Basically, for a long time I've been mapping out this glorious universe within, right? And my goal and intention moving forward now is to take each culture, each genre, and refine it to a very simplistic experience, perhaps a song or a poem or a single image or or a dance, and maybe all of them combined but condensed, refined, right? To bring each component into a core sensation and deliver the feeling of it rather than the intellectualization of it, which I'm attempting to describe right now. My goal in the most powerful way that I can share all of this experience is not necessarily, it is by sharing the emotion and the feeling of it, because tapping into this space within my being is an invitation for you to tap into it within yourself, which will unlock memories, emotions that, had you not gone to that space within the palace of your emotional psyche, you wouldn't have opened into. Yeah, so that's how that works. Yeah, certainly more to come. I hope you have a glorious evening. It's daytime. God damn. Golly do.